Game over, man. Game over.
You're gonna need a big approach. So serious.
I am Iron Man.
This is a tasty burger.
Welcome to the InSession Film Podcast.
Oh, welcome to episode 673 for February 1st, 2026, and I'm JD Duran.
And I'm Brennan Cassidy.
Hey, thanks for joining us for this week, everybody. I'm really excited to dig into this week's show because we are going to be talking about the great Sam Raimi, and we are doing so outside the context of the Marvel machine.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It's been a long time. And look, I do really like his Doctor Strange movies, perhaps more so than others. I don't know. I enjoy them enough. But
I might have thoughts later on.
I think it's fair to say that he is maybe best served outside of that whole wheelhouse. And again, when I say Marvel machine, I mean the current Marvel machine. It's different.
We're
than
mostly
what it used
just
to be.
we're mostly just talking about the multiverse of madness specifically. We're
Yes.
not necessarily talking about Spider-Man or Spider-Man 2, which predates the quote-unquote Marvel machine.
Exactly. I liked Multiverse of Madness enough. And that was, it was nice to have him back at that point, because when that film came out, it had been nearly a decade since we had seen anything from Sam Raimi on the film side of things. And now here we are getting Sam Raimi back.
Yeah, and we're actually getting a Sam Raimi film that has
Sam
no
Raimi
connectivity to any type of Marvel trademark or any type
A Raimi original. It's very exciting.
Yeah. The last time this has happened was, I guess, 2009. Was that the year of Drag Me to Hell?
I think so. Yeah. And look, it was on my list to do a little bit later, but we might as well dig into it now since we're already talking about Sam Raimi, because the box office for Send Help, his latest film, and we will have a review of that later this week.
Yeah.
Until then, though, Send Help, it grossed at this point $28 million worldwide, 20 of that domestically. I do believe it is going to expand more in the international market here pretty soon. But for a film with a budget of, I believe it was $40 million, $28.1 million worldwide to start is not terrible.
That's not terrible.
Not a bad start.
For a small movie like this, it's not terrible, especially to your point. If it's still expanding in other markets, it isn't open everywhere globally just yet. If that is the case, then that's a very good number, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So it is seemingly on its way to perhaps being one of the great success stories to begin 2026, which is very exciting. I do hope that it continues that trend. When I went to see the film on Friday night, it was a packed house, and it was a little later in the evening. It was around 10 o'clock when I went to see this film.
Wow, a packed house at 10? That's awesome.
It was fully packed, and people were having the time of their lives. It was quite incredible to see.
I think people just miss this kind of vibe when it comes to movie making.
Well, and it's important that we're getting an original horror film in 2026 for people to go out and see this, and maybe marketing it as a Sam Raimi film helps a little bit. I don't know. In today's market, that might not mean anything. Either way, people went to the theater to see this movie, an original horror film. It needs to do well, and I'm excited that it is on its way to doing well. Hopefully.
Well, I think it had two things going for it. I think we, as film fans, went to it because we love Sam Raimi, and there are certainly enough of us that would be willing to see it for those reasons.
Yeah.
But I think it just seems like one of those movies that general audiences would be interested in regardless of the Sam Raimi of it all. I mean, you have Rachel McAdams front and center, who I still think is very popular, and I think a lot of people still have a lot of respect for her. And just the overall vibe of the movie and what it seems to be conveying looks like something that just seems to suggest let's have fun going to the movies. And I think that's enough for some people.
Well, and the Rachel McAdams thing is interesting because it's not often we see her in this context. Right. She's obviously very well known for romantic dramedies or comedies or at large, the broad comedy. She's been very good at that. We've seen that. We haven't really seen her dig into a character like this before.
No, not like this.
Yeah. In, with what Sam Raimi is asking her to do here.
Oh, and yeah. This is new. We've seen her dabble in horror or at least thriller before with a movie like Red Eye, Wes Craven's Red Eye, which coincidentally also features a plane. So it kind of makes for a nice double feature that some people were calling out on Twitter. But yeah, this particular type of character, to your point, as we'll talk about in the review, very different for her. So it's definitely a new turn.
And she has to carry that film. God bless Dylan O'Brien. He plays his role very well. And again, we'll talk about him, but that film hinges in many respects on her performance, on Rachel McAdams' performance.
Yeah.
And we've just never seen anything like it from her. And spoiler alert, I think she does it very, very, very well.
As the campaign started.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to know.
Okay, like if Kathy Bates could win an Oscar for Misery, then it's not outside the realm of possibility to at least think about someone like Rachel McAdams in a movie like this.
Yeah, I know, and there are some Misery-esque qualities to the performance at times.
Oh, it's very much Annie Wilkes.
Yeah, but it's February 1st. I don't know if there's much hope in that, but I've seen that.
There isn't. I know. We're not that optimistic, but it's nice to dream about those things sometimes.
I know. To your point, though, it would be fun. And look, Amy Madigan, in terms of campiness and the type of performance that she delivers there, what McAdams is doing is not all that dissimilar. It's very similar.
It's not. Maybe the tones of the movies are very different, and maybe that's enough to, I guess, trick Academy voters into thinking someone like Amy Madigan is "quote unquote" more deserving. But that's I don't want to go down a rabbit hole of talking about how Academy voters are very narrow-minded these days. I think it's part of it.
If the right person did some sort of marketing push, putting out a video comparing the two performances and then shared that with their colleagues and other Oscar voters, I could see it happen. I think there's a world where that's a possibility.
Sure.
But again, it's February 1st. I think by the time August gets here, so many people are going to unfortunately forget about this performance. But it's good. It's real, real good. And again, we'll talk about it. We'll have a review coming later on this week. So with Sam Raimi's new film out in theaters, we are going to do another draft. We did a draft last week when Shadon was here. Brennan was gone. But Shadon and I did a draft. And we're going to do something very similar, but this time it's going to be Sam Raimi focused as we draft his movies.
Yeah.
Now, because the options are a little bit more limited than what we've done with some of our previous drafts, this will be a 10 or a 5-round draft, excuse me.
Yeah.
So 10 total films, but a 5-round draft. So we're going to cut it in half to make it a little bit more fun and challenging in that regard.
Yeah,
And
this
that
one I'm really looking forward to. We'll talk about that draft later on in the show, but for reasons we'll get into, this is going to be maybe one of the more competitive drafts I think we're going to be dealing with.
Should be fun. We'll get to that in the back half of the show. Real quick, though, since we're talking about drafts, I did put out the poll on Twitter and our Facebook group page for our draft from last week. And we were drafting best actress nominees from this decade.
Right.
So 2020 to 2025, best actress nominees. And that was a 10-round draft that Shadon and I did last week. And the results here are very, very similar to what you and I did the last time.
I know. I saw that. I was waiting for you to bring this up.
It was split. I won the Twitter poll with 64% of the vote there, where Shadon won the Facebook poll with 75% of the vote over there. And when you do the math, and I did the math, Shadon did win this by 1 vote. So it was very, very close, actually.
So it's very close to 50-50, kind of like it was for you and I. Maybe not quite as literally 50-50, but close enough to at least say a similar thing happened.
Yes.
Very
funny.
JD, if the same thing happens here for a Sam Raimi movie draft, then I think further analysis is needed in dissecting what the audiences are on Twitter versus Facebook? Like what is it about maybe? Well, I guess let me first ask you this with regard to this, because you won the poll for Facebook, right? When it was just you and I during our George Clooney draft, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Shadon won on Facebook for this last draft for best actresses of the decade so far, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she went on Facebook. I went on Twitter. Yeah.
I wonder if more analysis is needed as to gauging what is it about Facebook that's latching onto certain lists. Is there a certain like vibe that those lists are giving that's catering to Facebook audiences? Like this is getting pretty complicated. I think it's kind of weird.
It is kind of weird. It is fascinating how we get these major splits. And it's even more compounded by the fact that we put out the tweet on our Slack channel and again on Facebook, and there's conversation being had, and it's not always equating to votes, which makes it more interesting as well. Because if I was to calculate those manually as well, it would change things. And I don't know, perhaps I would have, I'm gauging here based off of the things I saw on Slack and on Facebook. I do think if I counted those manually, there's a good chance I would have beaten Shadon there, but I didn't, care to to take the exercise.
I mean, everyone has an opinion, right? It's just a matter of whether they actually go through the work and vote for their opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
And if they don't, then that's their problem.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, it's fascinating that it's come down to essentially one vote the last two times we've done this.
Yeah,
So
let's see if this happens again.
We'll get to the Sam Raimi draft in the back half of the episode. To begin, going to take a hard right turn here. There's no easy way to do this, so we're going to just go right into it and talk about Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah, we have to talk about Catherine O'Hara.
We all saw the news. She unfortunately passed away at the age of 71 last week. And this one gutted me. It's always heartbreaking in a sense, but this one especially stung. And maybe it's because this is someone that we grew up with. She was so prominent during our childhood, and we're watching so many of these now heralded classic movies of the late 80s and into the 90s. And she was such a big part of my childhood that when you see this type of news, and this is separate from the fact that she's just a comedic legend, broadly speaking. That's a whole other angle of it. But there is something personal about this actress being such a big part of your childhood and then having that taken away at what I would say is a young age.
71 is absolutely a young age.
A young age.
That was very tragic to see.
It was tragic. It was devastating. It hit me pretty hard. I'm not going to lie.
And you know what it is about that, JD, and why it's hitting us very hard, particularly for those of us of a certain age that grew up with movies like Beetlejuice or Home Alone. It's not just because we grew up with her and we saw those movies at a very particular age, but she played very profound mother figures in those movies. And I think that's why it's hitting us so hard, because we saw such a motherly dynamic out of her in a very quirky way with something like Beetlejuice, and then in a movie like Home Alone, a very realistic way. And I say this as someone that was never a big fan of Home Alone, but I think she has always been the bright spot in those movies. And it's because she actually plays that character as straight as can be. You fully buy into her motherly dynamics. It really is quite great. And I think that's why it's hitting us so hard, because in a way, for those of us that grew up with those movies and even love those movies, we kind of saw her as like a surrogate mother for us in some ways.
Well, and that's what's interesting, because Home Alone comes out and I'm 5 years old.
Yeah.
So I'm quite young, but I love those movies certainly much more than Brendan does. That is one of Brendan's biggest hot takes he's ever had on the show.
My hottest take is Home Alone 3 is the best one.
Yes, it's always been one of his biggest gripes. I love the film like most of the world.
Oh, I know.
deeply
Yeah,
love those movies.
yeah. I'm left home alone on that one.
Yeah, exactly. But you are right. You make a great point that what's so fantastic about her performance in those movies is that she does play it quite straight, and it's grounded and it's full of pathos and it's emotional. And there are small moments of comedic bite to them for sure. But generally it's an urgent mother who's desperate to get back to her son.
Right.
And she plays that very well. When that is your introduction to her as an actress, and then later on you find out more about her and your response is, what do you mean she's a comedic genius? Like, I know her as the urgent caring mother. What do you mean she's one of the funniest people alive?
Yeah, it's like, because like she definitely like projects some moments of mass hysteria in a movie like Home Alone when she's desperately trying to get home to her son, and there is something funny about that, but it's rooted in something real, right?
Exactly. But then you get older and you start to expand your horizons a little bit more. I've talked on this show before. I didn't catch up with Beetlejuice until a little bit later because I was 3 when that came out. Right. And it wasn't something that played prominently in my household. So I caught up with that a little bit later. But yeah, you watch her on that and you're like, you're blown away. You know, you catch her little role in After Hours and you're like, okay. And then, you know, something like Nightmare Before Christmas, which again is less about her comedic strengths and it's more so just her expanding her prowess and the range that she has as an actress. Yeah. And then, you know, as you get into the late 90s and 2000s and she's doing all this other work, and you do come to find out that, no, she really is one of the funniest people alive. But if you ask her to do something dramatic and poignant, it's like she can do it at the drop of a pin. Like
absolutely,
it's like turning on a switch.
Absolutely, yeah.
She really is a genius in that.
She has a very different presentation to her than someone like this comparison I'm about to make, but I really do think we should be putting her in the company of hilarious women in the same company as someone like a Betty White, for instance. Like, I really think she should be in that same kind of category. But she does have this versatility to her. She's really funny because she's, and I mean this with as much love and complimentary grace as possible, she's a very quirky individual. Like, she's given some really quirky performances, and that's what really made her stand out. Just before recording this particular episode right now, my wife and I were rewatching rather, Best in Show from the year 2000. And I was just further reminded of how unique and quirky she was as a performer, to the point that I think that might actually be her best work, at least in the realm of film in some ways, because that is just such a unique performance. But you could say the same thing about everything that she has done and everything that she has been in. You even mentioned The Nightmare Before Christmas. I mean, her voice performance in that is a completely different kind of style.
Yeah. And it's iconic in its own way, right?
Yeah. You look at her filmography, it is as varied as can be. And I love that about her.
I know. And obviously she's done a lot of vocal work. And while what she does in The Nightmare Before Christmas is among her best work in that regard, for sure, it certainly is for me. But what she does in something like Frankenweenie is really good. She was quite the standout for me in The Wild Robot as Pinktail. And again, that's in a film that is full of deep pathos and emotion, Pinktail is hysterical as this mom figure. Really, really funny. And I love what she brings to that. And what she did in Beetlejuice. Again, say what you will about the film, it's not as good as the original for most people.
She's the standout in it.
She's probably the best thing about that movie. Yeah. Like, hands down. She's incredible.
I think that's what we said when we reviewed it. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, like, you know, and obviously we're just talking about the film side of things, and she's done a lot of great things on the TV side. I admittedly can't speak to that quite as much because TV is not my strength. I don't watch a ton of TV.
Yeah, I've seen enough episodes of Schitt's Creek to, go to bat for her there like everyone else would.
For sure.
That
And
has
I've seen the
become one of,
clips.
it has become one of her iconic characters. Moira Rose
For sure.
in that one.
Yeah, because the clips have gone super viral.
Yeah.
The gifts that come out of them also go super viral. And this is all before her passing, let alone what we've seen over the weekend and the aftermath of her passing. All of that went around quite a bit.
Yeah.
Again, like she was in The Last of Us, haven't seen it in the studio. I did watch at least the first 4 or 5 episodes of the studio. She's really, really good there.
Yeah, not surprised.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I can't speak to the TV side quite as much, but I imagine that everything she did there was fantastic because I know that from her film work. And I have seen a lot of her film work, and yeah, she was just the best. That one hit. That one
did hit. Yeah. And I keep forgetting how much or how often she has appeared in movies where I'm like, that's kind of an all-timer. I mean, you talk about her voice work. She was also one of the voices of one of the Wild Things and Where the Wild Things Are. Like that. And another very different performance too. Like very different vocal mannerisms and vocabulary. She knew how to adapt to whatever the story was. She's going to be missed. She's absolutely going to be missed.
Very much going to be missed indeed. Yeah. It was really, really sad to hear. But yeah, I definitely look forward to rewatching her work. And it's going to live on for a long time because she's a legend, an absolute legend.
I agree.
Loved her a lot. All right. Veering away from that, again, just the hard right turn. Let's talk about movie music. Let's talk about film score.
Stingray time.
We're going to come back.
Stingray time.
To Stingray. And look, this one is going to be a little bit specific this week because I feel validated, Brendan. I feel validated.
Okay, I think I know where you're going with this.
Last summer, I came on this show and I talked about not just Hans Zimmer, not just Pirates of the Caribbean. No, I talked about one specific track. I came on here after rewatching At World's End. And what did I say, Brendan? Do you remember what I said at the time?
Oh, you were talking about the love theme, right? Specifically?
I was talking about the love theme.
Yeah.
I said at the time, and I was like, I don't know if this is a hot take. I said, is this a top 5 Hans Zimmer track? It might be. It might be. I said that last summer. Okay. So I'm browsing Twitter, and this is, I believe, last Friday. And for the audio listeners, I'm going to have to explain it, but I'm going to show it here for our video watchers here on YouTube. This is a tweet that I find. It's from an account that we all know. If you're on film Twitter, Synesthetic, provocative, and a lot of the tweets that he puts out there.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Likes to get a rise out of people sometimes.
Likes to get a rise out of people, but he puts out a video of At World's End. And if you watch the video, this is when they are about to head off to the end of the world. And you get that incredible cue that I talked about last year. And the tweet says, quote, Hans Zimmer went off with the Pirates of the Caribbean score, still untouchable. Which I thought was great, especially given that the video that accompanies that is At World's End. And not the main Pirates theme, not any of the other cues that you'll recognize. That whole clip that he plays in this video is that love theme from At World's End specifically. Okay. I saw that and I was like, oh boy, here we go. Here we go. I had to get to the archives, baby, because I have been talking about this track for a while now. And the reason that this tweet provoked me the most, and I have talked about this even with my wife, but I also sent this to Brendan as well. Earlier in the week, I was browsing TikTok, and this might have actually been a couple of weeks ago. there's been a trend over the last couple of weeks on TikTok of that cue being used in a lot of viral TikToks. I believe I downloaded one and I sent it to Brennan. I'm like, you're not going to believe what's happening right now on TikTok. I texted it to him. I was like, take a look at this cue. And it's everywhere. It's been everywhere on TikTok. And then, weirdly, off the heels of it being something that is prominent on TikTok, Synesthetic decided to bring it over to the Twitter space. Okay? So, again, for the audio listeners out there, I want to make this a bit of a clearer transition so that way you can, so it doesn't sound like it's muddled here. I'm going to play a clip from last summer. So for our video watchers here on YouTube, you'll see this.
You did your homework here, man.
I did my homework. This is a clip from last summer where I brought this up just for proof. Just for proof. This is what I said last year. The thing about this trip that I learned is that Hans Zimmer, when he scored Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, that dude was cooking more than I even thought he did, because it's a score that I love already. And that main Pirates theme that plays throughout that entire series is legendary, and for good reason. All of the praises of that main theme, it is warranted. I equally am enthralled by it.
Yeah.
But that love theme that he has for At World's End is underratedly one of his very best cues. This isn't necessarily like a new concept for me. I have loved this track for years now. I don't know if I've ever really talked about it here on the show, but the reason I bring this up is because on the way to Michigan, we're on the plane. You need something to do. I had downloaded Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End to watch. And I'm watching that movie and just fixated on the score. Like I could not believe how much I responded to it after seeing it again for like the 10th time. I've seen that movie like a dozen times, and I love the score, and I'm 30,000 feet in the air and wowed yet again, even though I've seen the film so many times, that he just continues to blow me away with the magic of that film and what he brings to it. And that romance theme that he plays, like when that violin starts kicking in, like the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. It is astounding how good it is.
Do you think that?
Okay. That was episode 647.
I love
episode 647 last summer.
Whatever my response was going to be, I love that you cut that part off.
Like, again, if people want to go and watch it, we went on another 15 minutes about that. Episode 647.
We basically reviewed At World's End is basically what we did.
And we talked about it again later in the fall as well. It came up once again in the fall when there was a Stingray update, and I actually took that clip and put it on our YouTube page if people want to go and check that out. So because Brendan and I went on it was a 25-minute segment just talking about not At World's End, but the 5th Pirates movie and Barbossa.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that
during that segment, I also raved about like a big reason that film, where it is effective, and it's not a great movie overall, but where that film is effective, it involves this love theme that was originated in At World's End, and it comes back again in a big way in that 5th movie. And so I clipped that. I put that on our YouTube page if people want to go and check it out, because we go down the rabbit hole. It's a deep rabbit hole, but it was really, really fun. But a lot of this originated with that clip that I just played, episode 647 from last summer. And again, it's not as if people have been talking about this score and that track specifically, broadly speaking. Am I taking credit here? Am I being a little egotistical? Yes,
I think you deserve to. I think you deserve to
because I brought it up, and then all of a sudden, all this time later, it's all over TikTok.
We were there.
Synesthetic is talking about it on Twitter. I wonder where they got that from.
We liked At World's End and Hans Zimmer's score for it before it was cool.
Before it was cool.
Exactly. We are the At World's End hipsters right here. That's exactly.
This is the most hipster I've ever been on this show. And look, obviously I'm joking and having fun here, but I do think it is very, very funny that I bring this up months ago. Like 7-8 months ago, I brought it up here on the show, and then all of a sudden, you're finding it all over TikTok and Twitter. I wonder why.
It is lovely that it's happening for a movie like this that I do think is deserving of a reappraisal. And I think a lot of people would agree. I think out of all three of these Pirates movies that Gore Verbinski directed, the original trilogy, At World's End is the one that is most deserving of some type of reevaluation.
I think so. Like,
there are days I think it might be my favorite of the three.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I was going to say. Like, I know that the reputation for the sequels is a bit like The Matrix, but I'm at that point where I think At World's End is just as good as that first film, and it might be, arguably, it could be better. It is unbelievable.
It's certainly more unhinged. It's something that blockbusters these days are not ever allowed to do.
It's bold. But it's also evocative. The cinematography is incredible. And as we've been talking about, Hans Zimmer on another freaking level. Like he was cooking. He turned up the heat big time.
Yeah.
And that love theme that he creates for that film, as I talked about in the clip, it really does raise the hair on my neck. It is when that violin kicks in, it is unbelievable. Like, all these emotions just burst out of me. Like, it's so good. It is unreal.
There's a brief moment. It becomes a great romance film. What year did that come out? At World's End? Was that 2005 or 2006? I think it was.
Something along those lines.
So whatever year it was, for a brief moment, it becomes the best romance film of that year.
Yeah, it's real fun. And I love that cue. And to see that
2007, that's when it was. Oh, it was 2007, which was, that was... Was that the same year that Keira Knightley was also in another one of the best romances of the decade with Atonement?
Like the 2000s, man, she was going through
the 2000s for epic romances. I mean, that was a time, man.
Yeah, very, very much a time.
Yeah.
And this last week, I'm telling you, like I have never felt so validated, because I come on this show and honestly, I don't know how you're going to react. I don't know how listeners are going to react when that main theme for Pirates is iconic, and for good reason. It's one of the best themes of any major blockbuster franchise, hands down. What Zimmer did there, and again, I've talked about that on its own as well, because that it originates in Gladiator, and I love that Hans Zimmer is like, that is so good, it deserves its own franchise, and I'm just going to steal it. Like, I love that about
absolutely.
Zimmer.
Yeah,
that is a compliment. That is never a criticism for me.
No, he knows what's good. That's like, and he's not afraid to be very obvious with that.
No, and he pulls it and he utilizes it to great effect in the Pirates movies, and it is legendary on its own terms. But I've gotten to a point where I think that love theme from At World's End, I think it's become a bit underrated.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how people were going to react when I came on the show last summer to be like, I think this is top 5. It might even trump that main Pirates theme for me. I don't know. Like, it's really, really great. And so then I've just been championing it ever since. And now to see it go all over, viral all over TikTok. I've seen a gazillion TikToks utilizing that theme now over the last couple of weeks. And to see Synesthetic regurgitate that on Twitter from a big account like that, like, finally someone is following my footsteps, and it's getting its due.
Well,
it's getting its due.
I like to think that Synestatics just simply watched our show and thought, like, yeah, they're right. And I'm not going to give him credit for it.
No, maybe. And that's fine. Look, he's got a huge platform. If he saw that segment and decided to rip it and steal it, I'm for it. And
I don't care. I don't need credit for that. Yeah, we don't need credit.
I don't need credit either. I'm just ecstatic that people are finally given that specific cue its due.
Yeah, it just allows us. It just validates us as cheerleaders of great art. That's what we like to see.
And I've gotten into conversations with people about this on TikTok, as well when I see other TikToks utilizing the queue. And I comment on all of them. Top 5 Hans Zimmer track. Top 5 Hans Zimmer track. Like I'm out there to champion that queue at any given moment.
I'm not on TikTok, but you're commenting as InSession Film, right?
No, I'm commenting as me. But maybe
okay.
I should do that.
Yeah, I was going to say that helps with our engagement.
I could do that for sure. Yeah, I've been doing that on my personal account, but either way, I just love seeing that all over the TikTok sphere, and now it's all over Twitter, and it's exciting. It's real exciting. So, yeah, the last few weeks have been like as terrible as they have been, given what's happening in the world. When you strip all of that away, which is almost impossible to do, but when you just funnel your vision to what's happening in the film space,
right? That
has been so incredible.
It gives you a temporary reprieve.
Yeah. So that's been great. That's what's been going on in my life anyway. How are you?
Hans Zimmer has been playing in the background. That sounds like a great life. I don't know about you.
Exactly. And so like after doing this homework and, seeing that tweet from Synesthetic and some of these TikToks, and, I just ripped that clip there so I could play it here on the show. And I ripped the clip from the fall to put up on our YouTube channel, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
And so I just went to the Outworld's and soundtrack. I listened to the whole thing all the way through twice over the weekend. I was just like, I'm just going to listen. I'm just in the mood. I'm going to listen to the whole thing. And it's just, it's so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Zimmer, thank you.
Those movies,
you'll probably
man.
never hear this, but thank you.
Those movies, that Pirates trilogy, man.
Just,
Gore Verbinski has a new movie coming out this year.
And Gore, we'll get to that very soon because I think it comes out soon, right?
I think comes out this month, February.
This month,
right?
Yeah, a little gore in our life.
Apparently, it's getting some pretty decent reviews because apparently it's a very unhinged movie, which is what we want from this guy. His last movie did that very thing with A Cure for Wellness. Maybe not a great movie, but an unhinged one, and I love that.
Yeah, I can't wait. Should be a lot of fun. One other thing I need to bring up here before we get to our Raimi draft. So a few weeks ago, we did our top 10 most anticipated movies of the year. And we talked about briefly Terrence Malick's new film, The Way of the Wind, because it's been on our list over the last 5 years. We've mentioned it in some way, shape, or form. And the last 2 years have been really funny because I have quoted what the film stage has written about it because it's been really funny to hear what they've written.
Yeah, for sure.
As they're like, I don't know if this is ever going to come out, but it's number one on our list anyway. Who cares?
It's number one on it's number one on our list every year until it actually comes out.
Until it comes out. And when we did that show a few weeks ago, I read what the film stage did for 2026, and this time they went on to talk about some of the sources they've talked to, whether it be editors, other people around the film. They didn't really name the sources, I'm guessing there, but some of them have said we've seen a full print of this.
Yeah.
Others said we've seen large chunks, but they're not sure when the final product is coming out.
Yeah.
And ultimately the film stage wrote, we don't know if this film will ever come out.
Right.
We don't know.
Right.
It could come out soon. It could come out in 10 years. Maybe it'll never come out. We don't know.
Yeah.
But if we ever do see it, we'll be there day one. I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what they said.
More or less. Yeah.
And then we get an update. Over the weekend, we got an update from Giza Rohrig. Again, forgive me, I'm probably butchering that, but he is starring as Jesus in the film. And according to him, this might, quote unquote, might come out in May, which would coincide with a premiere at the Cannes Film Festival. He also said this might be Malick's last film, his swan song, which is incredibly bittersweet if that is indeed the case, because I selfishly want more of Terrence Malick. But at the same time, if this is his last movie and it's coming out this year at Cannes, Praise Jesus. Praise
Well,
Giza, I guess.
let me ask you this: like a filmmaker like a Terrence Malick, who is 82 years old, we also have to remember that, and it takes him
He
like
is-
15
he is
years to make a
older.
movie.
That's why
so,
it's selfish of me to want more. But
yeah, he'd have to be making movies on the fly like he did with Song to Song in order to keep going.
he could, who knows?
And maybe that's not the best route. He already made those experiments, and I like that he's becoming a patient filmmaker once again.
Yeah.
But you have to think of it this way: if this is a man that has always he has always made movies that depicted historical, theological, fantastical elements, right?
Yeah.
If his last movie was a freaking Jesus movie, that makes a lot of sense. And I don't really
does.
want anything to go like how do you one up yourself after that? I don't think
I
you
don't
do.
know. I mean, his films have obviously been very spiritual, generally speaking. The Tree of Life couldn't be more direct in his processing of faith. And so to tackle it even more directly with something like The Way of Wind, when it's about very specifically. And I mean, I think it
kind of sounds like a culmination.
It's fitting
in
as a
some ways.
swan song for sure.
Yeah.
I want more. And I think it's also a bit jarring because starting in 2011, like his 2010s run, he had a movie coming out basically every other year. Like Tree of Life is 2011, To the Wonder was the next year, Knight of Cups 2015, Voyage of Time, the documentary, was the year after, Song to Song 2017, A Hidden Life, which was even in the Oscars conversation a little bit.
Yeah.
That was 2019.
Yeah.
So it like, again, that's why I say selfish, because it's like, man, he was working quite hard.
He was. It's interesting because that sort of that felt like a very unique and almost one-time phase for him, where he really experimented with different kinds of things and tried to make movies that were really not about stories per se. Like The Tree of Life sort of started this new kind of phase for him, where he really dove headfirst into non-linear, more vibes in a way, with movies like Knight of Cups and Song to Song and To the Wonder, that almost felt like a weird unofficial trilogy. A Hidden Life was almost like him going back to his roots a little bit. So it kind of makes sense that he's now finding this patience once again.
For sure. And again, it's not as if that is new to him. Famously, there was 20 years in between Days of Heaven and The Thin Red Line. So like, thankfully it won't be 20 years, but I mean, and even between The Thin Red Line and The New World, that was 8 years, 7, 8 years. So there was a big gap there. Very similar to A Hidden Life in The Way of the Wind. That's just, he is very patient. He doesn't rush things. But at 82 years old, I do wish he'd rush just a little bit. A little bit here with The Way of the Wind. But man, if it comes out at Cannes this year, if this is it, automatically my number one most anticipated?
Is it still? But I mean, like some of those reports we talked about a week or so ago, is it still potentially 14 hours long?
I don't know. And look, if that is the case, then we're getting like 4 movies, like 4 Malick movies in one. That would be incredible. I don't think it'd be 14 hours. No, there's no way. No way.
That'd be amazing if he did that.
But the thing is, with that much footage, you probably could edit, especially the way that he edits. You could edit 4 different iterations of that story.
Sure.
If you got that much footage.
Yeah. What if he's actually doing what Sam Mendes is doing with the Beatles, and it's actually about 4 different characters, and we don't know that yet?
Maybe.
One's Jesus, one's Peter, and maybe one is Judas. I
mean, he could do that. That could be why it's taking so long to edit, is that he is secretly, and that's the other thing too, when he does this, it's often in secret and the cast has no clue, right?
Oh yeah.
Adrian Brody comes to mind, maybe most notably. But there's been other stories about the way that he edits and the way that he just moves the camera. Like sometimes actors find it frustrating what he does.
Yeah, like wasn't it Christopher Plummer that said, like, I was filming this great monologue, all of a sudden Malik is over there. He just got distracted by a very beautiful flower and just started filming that.
Just and yeah, I mean, those are the stories that that go around, and you find it very, very funny.
Yeah.
There was another story that I brought up here on the show from Night of Cups, and it was Joel Kinnaman, I believe, because he was talking about how he had this huge monologue. And very similar to Plummer, he gets into the monologue and Malik he turns the camera to this puppy.
Yeah.
Or this rabbit, whatever it was, I can't remember. But he's like, he just shifted the camera off to
He's just
this
gone.
rabbit
He's
in
just
the middle
gone.
of
He
my
just walked
monologue. Yeah. Very nobody does it like him at all.
I don't. I think at this point now, actors should probably feel like excited to have that experience of that frustration.
Yeah,
just to have a story to tell.
Like that's like as an actor, I feel like you just have to, like that would be the fun of it. I think. Like, what am I being cast for? What's on the page for me to do, and what is the final edit going to be? Like that surprise could be. I think there'd be fun in that. I
can only imagine like Jim Caviezel, especially for a movie like The Thin Red Line, because that whole process, apparently Adrian Brody thought he was the lead, and I guess that was the original intent when production started, only for the final product for him to go see that, him being Jim Caviezel and realizing, holy crap, am I the lead of this movie now? I wonder if he had any idea before he actually walked.
Probably had no. I don't think he told anybody. I don't think anyone had a clue until they got to the premiere.
Like Jim Caviezel's probably sitting there thinking by the end, it's like, wait a minute, this movie's kind of about me. It's about
crazy. But apparently, I've read there is enough footage that they could recut that movie. Like they could make a whole movie, different movie with just the Adrian Brody storyline.
That'd be fascinating. So, I'd be very interested to see that like side edit of sorts.
Yeah, that'd be
this weird
incredible
companion edit, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. I don't like where is he getting the funding for all this? Like, how do you have 14 hours of footage? Like, who's paying for this? Is Malik paying for this?
I think he might be self-funding a lot of it, honestly.
Yeah.
He has never been, I mean, he makes films that get often prestigious representation, but I never really see him as a prestigious figure. Right. And I think he kind of takes pride in his more maybe blue collar lifestyle, if you want to call it that. Like he has there's something very simple about him, which I appreciate. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's doing a lot of self-funding for this kind of stuff.
I don't know. According to this that I'm looking at here, the production companies for The Way of the Wind are Studio Babelsberg, which is apparently some German production company, and Pistachio Pictures, which I know nothing about.
Yeah.
So who knows?
I don't
like either. I don't know what any of that means.
It's a big movie world when they start mentioning production companies that you've never heard of.
Yeah. Anyway, we might be getting this film in 2026, and I noted both of us said that if this film does come out this year, it's automatically my most anticipated.
Oh, me too. I need to see what the heck this is. I might not even care for it, but I need to see what this is all about. I gotta see it.
Yeah.
I mean, A Hidden Life, I actually think is one of his better movies. That was in my top 10 of that year.
Same. Loved that movie. Loved that it was in the awards conversation.
Oh my
I think
gosh.
maybe that's why I was a little bit surprised that, because he's getting back to his roots a little bit with that movie. A lot of people were talking about him again. I assumed that he would use that as motivation to churn out something again relatively soon, but nope. He just goes back to his Malik way of just not caring and just doing things on his own terms.
Yeah, I just hope it's not like you said, a 26-year wait between films like it was for Days of Heaven and The Thin Red Line.
Yeah, 20 years. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
All right, Brendan, do you like anacondas?
I'm not a snake. I'm not a snake guy. They creep me out.
Yeah.
I will say this: I do have a soft spot for that first Anaconda film from the '90s.
Me too. Yeah. I like
it.
Movie. I think it's real fun. It's silly and goofy and weird, but I enjoy it as well as one of those kind of campy animal slasher horror movie type things.
Oh yeah,
It's fun. So this new Anaconda, admittedly, I have not seen. It is a blind spot for me. It came out at the worst possible time for us because we were so neck deep in doing 2025 homework.
I think a lot of people forgot that it even existed, primarily because there was very little marketing for it. And then a trailer just came out and everyone realized, wait, this actually is real. This is actually happening.
Yeah, it's actually
and then, you know, like say what you will about the film. I haven't seen the film, but I respect the premise. The premise is kind of interesting to me.
I also don't understand why they chose the end, like late December for a release.
I'm not sure.
Why did they choose late December for a release? Like, does that not feel like a January 14th kind of movie, or maybe a February 12th or something?
It definitely seems like a dumpuary kind of movie.
Yeah. I don't understand the release date that they chose. Either way, that's more of a me and you problem because we are in the middle of our catch up at that point. We're trying to watch 2025 movies to prepare for the award show.
Yeah.
So I have not had a chance to see Anaconda, but look, it's Jack Black, it's Paul Rudd, it's Thandie Newton, Steve Zahn, and I do like that they bring in the original Anaconda as part of the premise. So it's not like a remake necessarily. It's not a sequel. It's just its own thing where the movie Anaconda exists in that world. Yeah, it's like a meta reboot. If maybe you could call it that, but yeah, that it's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
So I am curious to check out with it. You know, I like the premise. I like the cast here. I am curious about it. And if you are as well, maybe you're like us and you didn't get a chance to see it, but you're curious about it, or maybe you did see it and you loved it. Good news. We have 5 digital codes to give away. 5 of them.
How about that?
Which is very exciting. If you want one of those digital codes, you can follow us on social media, Twitter and Instagram specifically, at InSession Film. We will put out a post. All you got to do is interact with that post, and we will enter you into this giveaway for a digital code to Anaconda. So that'll be later on this week. Again, you have to follow us because I need to be able to DM you. So
it's important.
Make sure you follow. Do like and retweet and all that sort of stuff as we ask you to do, and you will be entered in for this giveaway for Anaconda. So go follow us on social media, and we thank Anaconda for their support. Brendan, it is February. It's cold outside.
Coffee time.
Coffee.
Coffee time.
Coffee time.
Not just for the caffeine to keep us awake, but to keep us warm.
Yes. Over the weekend, it was winter apocalypse in the state of Florida. It was crazy.
I think a better way to put it is in the entire United States, it's been kind of an ice age.
Well, it has been. Obviously, there's been huge storms across the entire northern part of the country. And even in the southern states, there's been ice and it's been very cold.
Like Tennessee got some snow. I think even some flurries existed in Texas, if I'm not mistaken. So
I saw a Twitter post where there was a father and a son playing hockey in the streets of Texas.
That's amazing.
The streets were so frozen. They were playing legit ice hockey on the goddamn street.
It's amazing.
Unbelievable.
That's amazing. Oh,
it is amazing.
It's cold. Cold.
Like it's been cold, and it's been so bad that Tampa and Orlando and Jacksonville, they had snow flurries over the weekend. It was
amazing.
Unreal.
Amazing.
Snow in Florida, like in central Florida. I'm not talking Tallahassee where that might happen from time to time. It's Tampa and Orlando where that never happens. And in South Florida where I am, I woke up on Sunday morning and it was 37 degrees outside. That has never happened long as I've lived here.
Yeah, I mean, to you, that was probably like, yeah, this takes me back. I grew up in this kind of weather, but how did your wife feel, who's from South Florida?
She did not go outside very much. She stepped outside once, and that was enough for her. Meanwhile, my kids absolutely loved it. They were outside.
That's cool.
Having the time of their lives. But I was outside drinking my coffee. That's what kept me warm. I was loving the 30 degrees in my hoodie, drinking my coffee. It made me feel like a kid again, but a kid drinking coffee because I'm an adult now. Kids shouldn't drink coffee. But when you're an adult, you need that coffee. Coffee Cult's the best because they source specialty grade coffee. So we're talking premium gourmet coffee. It's very, very good. You don't need to fill it with sugars and milks and all that sort of stuff. It's fan-freaking-tastic on its own. I promise you can taste the difference. So head on over to coffeecult.com. That's coffee with a K, cult with a K, coffeecult.com. At checkout, use our code ISF25 and you'll get 15% off. Again, or 26, I should say.
I was just going to say, we're in a new year, aren't we?
ISF26. And you'll get 15% off. Again, that code is ISF26. Maybe get a gift box. Valentine's Day is coming up. They have some great gift boxes. You can get your loved ones for Valentine's Day. You know they're going to want coffee. It's the perfect gift.
Absolutely.
So go get your Coffee Cult gift boxes. Again, that's coffeecult.com. Use that code ISF26, and we thank them for their support. All right. Let's go ahead and transition to the world of Sam Raimi. We love Sam Raimi here. We are big Raimi heads, and we are going to be doing a draft here as we go through the films of the great Sam Raimi. So as we always do, this will be a snake draft. So whoever goes first, they'll get the first pick. Whoever goes second will get the second pick, and then also the third. And we'll just kind of keep going back and forth. In that way.
This should be fun. And as we said earlier, this will be one of the more competitive drafts that we've done. We obviously cannot do a full 20 film draft where we each get 10 films because he has only directed 16 movies, including Send Help, which we will be including Send Help in this exercise. I think it's only fair. But when you think about that, I won't reveal any of the films specifically here, not to play our cards too early, but out of his 16 films, I feel like he has exactly 10 that people would rank as among his best works. So that makes it pretty clear we have 10 to work with. So this will be interesting.
It should be very, very interesting. So let's go ahead and get started. I have a digital coin here that I'm going to flip, as we always do. So, Brendan, if you want to call it heads
I'll call
or
it
tails.
And because a lot of his movies feature heads rolling, quite literally, I'm going to go with heads.
All right, here we go. It is flipping, it is flipping, it is flipping, and it is tails.
All right, so it's up to you. Do you want to pick first, or do you want to defer to me?
You see, it's interesting because I don't know, there is something compelling about going second and third here. I will go ahead and pick first, though.
Okay.
Because I already know what I want to go with at number one, and it'll give me a little bit of time here to think about where to go next.
Okay.
Especially depending on what you pick, because 2 and 3, I think there's several films there for you to choose for those slots that are worthy of being 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be my strategy here.
Okay, I think that's fair. So you're going to go ahead and get things started.
I'm going to go ahead and get things started here. I am going with Spider-Man 2.
I figured that would be the case. Yeah, that's a great first pick.
So I think this is the best superhero film ever made.
Yeah, it's between this and Batman Returns for me.
Batman Returns is also very, very good. Absolutely. But yeah, there's something about Spider-Man 2. And again, I don't want to use comparison necessarily as the crux of why I think it's so great, but it's hard not to see the current crop of superhero movies and then look back at what he was able to accomplish with Spider-Man 2 and just gawk at the superiority of Spider-Man 2, given the CGI soupy mess of so many that
gosh,
we get
you're
today.
absolutely the way we talk about the Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy in relation to modern blockbusters generally nowadays, Spider-Man 2 is that for modern superhero movies.
Yeah, and look, there are several great superhero movies over the last 10 years. I'm not trying to degrade all of them collectively. There have been some great ones.
Absolutely.
I am a big fan of Infinity War, for example. I think that first Black Panther is very good. Iron Man, which that's really more so in the 2000s Pirates Spider-Man 2 camp than it is the current
most of
trend.
Phase 1 is before Marvel even knew what they had on their hands.
Yes. I would very much agree with that. So, but it's still like there's a lot to appreciate in the MCU. But yes, Spider-Man 2 just its pragmatism really sticks out. The storytelling is phenomenal. The performances are really great. Like it has everything. Like where it does utilize CG, and obviously you're going to need it for a lot of the web slinging and action sequences. But even amongst that, there's still small levels of practicality to it that you deeply admire. And then you get something like the Doc Ock surgery sequence, which is just a full-on Sam Raimi horror short film that he just throws in the middle of that movie, which is incredible. Incredible. Like something I don't know if we would get today.
Well, and it's here's the thing about that is that as much as it is a Sam Raimi horror film moment, it comes in a film that it doesn't feel out of place in. Like the whole movie feels very Sam Raimi-like, which is so rare for especially superhero movies these days to have a very well-regarded director directing their film. Spider-Man 2 is 1,000% a Sam Raimi movie.
100%. I wholeheartedly agree. And Rosemary Harris probably should have been nominated for an Oscar for this. Like, she's that good.
I think nowadays, if this movie or at least something like it were to come out today, it probably would. In a day and age when movies like Logan can get a Best Screenplay nomination, I think someone like Rosemary Harris, I think she would, at the very least, she would be in contention. I think she'd be discussed.
Especially at her age when this film came out. Like, I do feel like the narrative would be there. And this version of the Academy, I think, would be more willing to adopt a performance like this. I mean, hell, Amy Madigan got in for Weapons. I mean, we're living in a different timeline than 2004 with the Academy, especially. Yeah. So yeah, I very much think that today she would very much have a chance at getting in, if not to even maybe win. I can't remember what the competitors were that year, but very much in that conversation. And then, working with Bill Pope once again, the cinematography of that film is incredible. Danny Elfman's score, iconic.
It's not
like no one will be able to sway me on this. The only thing that comes close to your point is Batman Returns, and I'm with you. I think that's the best Batman movie.
Same.
But nothing else touches this. And as time goes on, we're increasingly getting into a world where it's hard to see anything topping this. I don't want to be too bleak about it, but yeah, it's Spider-Man 2 and everything else.
I feel like the only chance of a superhero movie topping Spider-Man 2 is if Send Help does really well for the type of movie that it is, that Sam Raimi gets a blank check from Sony to say, listen, just give the fans what they want and make Spider-Man 4. And if he brings back Rosemary Harris for that, who is now 98 years old, maybe that is her chance to get Oscar nominated for Aunt May.
Yeah, and I guess to backtrack a little bit, because I can already see the comments on this. I do understand that Heath Ledger won the Oscar just a few years later for a superhero movie.
Yeah, but I get that. But here's the thing. You compare The Dark Knight to Spider-Man 2. Like, The Dark Knight is really more of a comic book movie because of its source material. It doesn't feel comic booky at all. But Spider-Man 2 very much feels comic booky. And I think that makes it a huge distinction between the two.
For sure. And I don't necessarily blame Nolan for that, because we hadn't seen anything like that at that time in 2008. For him to take a comic book movie and give it this incredibly grounded thriller sensibility to it, that was a game changer, for better or worse. Obviously, there's been some copycats over the years. But for better or worse, that was a very different path, and it's a very Nolan path. And I love that film as well. I think The Dark Knight is in the conversation, but it just doesn't top Spider-Man 2 for me. But I love that film for a lot of the same reasons when you talk about that film's direction and practicality and performances and score. Like it has all of the same qualities for sure. But I just don't think it rises above Spider-Man 2 for me. But I get why it would for most others, or at least a lot of others.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But I think what Raimi does, and there is something about the comic book-iness of it, to your point, and just the larger storytelling in Spider-Man, and some of it is subjective because I've always been more of a Spider-Man kid than I was a Batman kid, so that's certainly part of this as well. But I just for me, Spider-Man 2 hits everything impeccably.
I'm with you. Like, and ironically, I've growing up, I was more of a Batman kid than I was a Spider-Man kid, and yet I do much prefer Spider-Man 2 over something like The Dark Knight. There's just something about the emotional center of Spider-Man 2 that just sticks with me, and it sounds like it's the same case for you as well. Yep,
very much so. Anyway, that's the first pick here. I guess we won't be able to spend that much time on all of these, but. Spider-Man 2, that is my first picks here. So to you for your first pick.
I think there's another pretty obvious first pick here. I feel like there were two films that we will be fighting over as far as how we get them first, and one of them would have been Spider-Man 2. The other one would have been Evil Dead 2, which is what I'm starting my list here with. Okay. And I think in many ways kind of the pinnacle Sam Raimi film, because I feel like in many ways it's the one that best represents what his trademarks are, while also being one of the more important films in his career by really spearheading what he would do as a filmmaker. And you could really see a lot of his trademarks in this movie and how they would bleed into something like even Spider-Man 2, for instance. I just think even outside of that, and being a very pivotal film in his filmography, it's one of the most fascinating sequels I think I've ever seen, because it's not really a sequel. I guess Bruce Campbell himself has kind of described it as maybe the first requel ever made, because in a way it is a continuation of that first Evil Dead from 1983, I think that was, or 81. Excuse me, it was 1981, I think. But it also feels like it's completely disconnected from that, given the fact that when they made Evil Dead 2, they didn't even have the rights for their own movie. So they had to do this weird...
That's just wild.
I know. So they had to do this like weird opening sequence that technically served as a weird recap with characters missing, and then becomes a sequel to the movie that they made some years ago. And of course, being a bigger budget, being a much grander experience. And I also love that with Bruce Campbell being more front and center, and that he's really the only character in this movie in some ways. It just makes for a really unique and singular experience that I think has kind of defined Sam Raimi going forward. A lot of it really does start here in many ways. So I think you have to get this one out of the way.
Yeah, for sure. And I think circling back to these movies, because I did revisit the first Evil Dead earlier in the week. I was hoping to get some more to them before we did this draft, and I simply ran out of time. But one of those factoids about Sam Raimi that I keep forgetting is that he's a Michigander. Like, he's from Royal Oak. Like, I know like where he's from. I'm very familiar with that area. And then the one thing about Sam Raimi that I despise is that he is a Michigan State grad. Or I don't know if he graduated, but he certainly went there for a few years. Look, not everyone is perfect, okay? Not everyone is perfect.
He redeemed himself by making good movies.
Very much so. Yeah. Look, if it took him going to East Lansing to get to where he is now, then we just have to live with it. Like, that's okay. And going back to Evil Dead, it was like immediately I'm like, oh yeah, Michigan State, because she's like wearing the Michigan State sweatshirt or whatever. I'm like, oh yeah, he went there. I try to block that out. Okay, like again, not a fan of the Spartans.
Just watch Evil Dead 2 and it makes you forget that.
Anyway, that's a little bit of a side tangent, but yeah, this movie is incredible, and it certainly takes a lot of the sensibilities of that first one, heightens them to a completely different degree. And, as you talked about, Bruce Campbell has much more to do here. It's very much front and center. And it ups the ante of what
it just has so much personality. So much personality. Like, I think I might say Spider-Man 2 is my favorite Sam Raimi film, but I might simultaneously say that I think Evil Dead 2 is his best, just given when it came out, what it represented for his career. Because I think in many ways it is kind of the birth of the Sam Raimi that we know and love today.
Yeah, very much so. And we do, as much as we associate him maybe with the Spider-Man movies, he's equally associated with these Evil Dead movies or
For
horror
sure.
movies, you know, broadly speaking.
For sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, that's a great pick.
Yeah, and what it meant for this type of horror going forward. I mean, he was kind of the spearhead in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
All right, so snaking back to me, my next pick, I've got two that I'm struggling with going with next. What I think I'm going to do is just get this one out of the way, because I wouldn't be able to live with myself if you got both Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man on your list. So I'm going to go with the first Spider-Man as my next pick.
Okay.
Which, another great superhero movie. Of course, Spider-Man 2 being the one that we prefer. But as far as origin stories are concerned, there's something very sincere about that first Spider-Man, because it came out at a time before the Marvel machine was a machine. And you really sense that sincerity in that first Spider-Man. And a lot of it also, too, comes down to Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin, Harry Osborn, one of the great cinematic movie villains in a superhero movie. And this is also, when you compare to someone like Doc Ock and Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi gave us two of the greatest superhero villains of all time. Back to back. That is nothing to scoff at. So much so that...
For sure. Yeah.
And I don't say this as a knock, but so much so that Marvel had to bring them both back for another Spider-Man movie. Like, that just goes to show how influential that they were. And Sam Raimi did it twice in a row. Like, that's saying something. So that first Spider-Man is also very good. Definitely one of Raimi's better films and one of the best superhero origin stories, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that first Spider-Man movie might be even a little underrated, because we all go to Spider-Man 2 in that trilogy, and rightfully so. But I think that Spider-Man, it's a little bit of what we were just talking about with Pirates and At World's End, and how close 1 and 3 are. Like, again, I don't think the first film will ever top Spider-Man 2, but I think it's closer than people give it credit for. It's like, again, because it's the storytelling, the performances, the practicality of it all, and you have a Willem Dafoe that is just completely unhinged in the very best ways. It's a performance that is still as captivating as ever, and I think it's why it's so gifable. You see gifts from that performances everywhere, from that performance specifically.
Just the facial mannerisms, but even the lines. Like, the script writing in that movie has a lot of personality. Some of the stuff he says and the way he says it, like simple lines like "back to formula." It's memorable. It's a very memorable movie.
It's quite incredible. Again, with the Academy today, does Willem Dafoe, does he get an Amy Madigan type response? I don't know. Either way, it's such a memorable performance. Very, very fun. Absolutely, you could see why the MCU wanted to bring him into the fold for that recent Spider-Man movie. No Way Home? Was that the one?
No Way Home. Yeah, one of the homes.
One of the homes.
Like, say what you will about those movies, the titling of those movies is not very good.
No, but I do think No Way Home, because it gets so confusing.
Yeah.
And so it's like, wait, which one was which?
Well, it's easy with Home. It's easy with Homecoming, but then you have Far From Home and No Way Home. Those are just too similar.
But I get, in some ways, I get it though, because you don't want Spider-Man and then Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3. Like, you have to avoid the Raimi trilogy. So, but they could have done it in a less confusing manner. Anyway, No Way Home, I really like that film a lot. And while Willem Dafoe might be a little bit underutilized there, he's still one of the best things about it when he is on screen. And he just, no one does that character like he does. Yeah, it's incredible. So yeah, this is a good pick. This is a really good pick. I would have stolen this, if you went in a different way.
And I couldn't allow that to happen. But there's another film I really wanted to get. So now I'm really curious where we go from here.
Yeah, so we circle back to me. And there's a couple of films here to consider. Now obviously, Oz the Great and Powerful is the next one I want to pick, but I don't want to be presumptuous here.
I'm not allowing you to pick that, only because I actually want this to be a competitive poll here.
Yeah, like that one, not on the list. You know,
is that your least favorite Raimi film?
Well, I don't know. I'd have to rewatch some of these, like For the Love of the Game, for example. I haven't seen that one in a really long time. So
It was on Netflix some months ago, and I did rewatch it. I think I rewatched it in preparation for our 1999 retrospective.
oh yeah, gotcha.
It is okay, it's fun. It's fine to talk about this movie now because I don't think either of us are going to pick For the Love of the Game. But it is perhaps the most wild detour in any director's filmography I have ever seen, and for that reason,
it is strange. Honestly, it is a bit
so
strange.
glad the movie exists for that reason.
I was going to take us down a rabbit hole, but we probably shouldn't. But because I was going to ask how he got chosen for this. Like, was this just a payday? Like, I don't
know. I think I did look that up, but I forget what the answer was.
Yeah, I'm sure there is an answer there. I have no idea why he was picked for this. But like Kevin Costner, especially at that time, he handpicked a lot of his directors that he worked with. So it probably has something to do with Costner going, yes, I want Sam Raimi. Why he would do that, I don't know.
Okay, I just did a Google search here. Apparently, the script made its way to Sam Raimi, and he was very moved by it, and also has a love of baseball, and just wanted to capture it on screen. And I will say this: some of the baseball scenes in that movie, you could see a little bit of Sam Raimi in them. That's what I will say. The rest of the movie is a romance. It's on autopilot.
Yeah. Not exactly. Yeah. Very strange. It's very strange for him for sure. Anyway, that's not my pick here. All right. I think I'm going to go with that first Evil Dead.
Okay.
Which is like, it's not my favorite of that series, but I do think it's quite effective, especially for the budget that they are working on.
Yeah. Very unique looking movie.
Yeah. And also like there is something interesting like that holds up very well in terms of the Jaws effect of that movie. I think is really great. I don't know, like Spielberg really tapped into something there. And I know that a lot of other filmmakers, especially when you're working with low budgets, have tried to capture that same feeling. But I think Sam Raimi does a really great job before the chaos really unfolds. It's clear that all the money was spent on the last third of the film when it gets at it, its most chaotic. But kind of leading up to them to that point, and the camera, like you're getting that POV essentially. Yeah. It's really effective. It is like you see him tapping into that directorial sensibility in a really great way. And this, like that original film, I think carries a lot of weight still with the fans of that franchise. So I think I'm going to go with that one here. Like if you look up a lot of Sam Raimi rankings on Letterboxd, I mean, this is usually in the top 3.
Oh yeah, it's very close.
So like
the budget here for this movie, $375,000.
Crazy.
Which I think nowadays equates to around 1.5 million. Wild. Wow. Absolutely wild.
Pretty crazy. And then it made what, like $40 million or something like that?
I think it was around 30, but still that's 30 times its budget.
God. Yeah. Pretty wild. I wonder what 30 million by today is. So if it costs 1.5 to make, that's what, 60 million? 70 million maybe? I'm guessing.
Oh, I'm about to do an inflation calculator here. CPI inflation calculator. Okay, let's take this back to the year 1981 and translate it to today. What is 30? And I think it was 30 million. So
it was. I'm looking at it. It says it's 30. Yeah.
Why did it give me an error? That is not very nice.
Well, I mean, we can move on and we don't have to stay there. I was just curious more than.
Oh wow! I have to use a value less than that. That's annoying. Anyway, okay, we'll let someone else tell us what it is. We have more things to talk about.
We can move on for sure. Okay, so that is me. Or my next pick. So we circle back to me as we start round 3.
Right.
Okay, I have 2 films here that I'm contemplating for this choice. Actually, all right, I'm going to go with Drag Me to Hell here for this next one.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And this is honestly, it's because I see this film talked about a lot still. Anytime Raimi is in the conversation, this is the movie that like people go to this. These are the clips that go viral. This is what people talk about.
You talk about
this is a
giveable.
little bit of a pandering to the vote kind of thing here. It wasn't necessarily my first choice, but I do like this film. I have not seen it in a long time. I don't know if I've seen it since it came out, to be perfectly honest. Maybe 2010, 11.
It is, yeah. It is. It's a fun movie. It is a wild movie, and probably has the bleakest ending in any Sam Raimi film. Which honestly, like for a movie as fun and silly and goofy as it is, to end that way is probably why it feels as devastating as it is, because it just does not fit the tone of what came before, and that is what I love about it. Like, it is so wildly inconsistent. It's like Sam Raimi is trolling the audience, and it just seems like something he would do for a movie like this.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's very Raimi in that regard. And I think that's why a lot of people love it. It's kind of bold, and you see Raimi taking these huge swings, and it's clearly worked for a lot of people, because that film, especially those moments at the end, they're continually in the discourse from time to time. And especially whenever Raimi is brought up, it feels like we circle back to that at some point. Maybe that's a little high for this, but I feel like it's so like it's being reevaluated, I think, as one of his best movies.
Well, especially with Send Help out now, because I feel like out of all of Sam Raimi's films, Send Help is probably most comparable to something like Drag Me to Hell.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So, that was my thinking there. And
it was a very unique horror film of its time, when it was just fueled with splatter fests and gore fests and
for sure.
Saw sequels. So I thought that was very fresh. It's a very gifable movie. Like, you always see some of those clips going, maybe not necessarily viral, but they're always popping up somewhere on Twitter, right? Yeah. So I think you're definitely going to get some respect for that pick at this height.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So it's snaking back to me. I think I'll go with the critics pick next. I'm going to go with A Simple Plan for my next pick.
Yeah. There you go.
And Sam Raimi's career is so interesting, because if you remove maybe 4 of his films where he kind of went the more normie route of directing, his filmography would look a lot more consistent. But I think of those more quote unquote normie films that he directed, A Simple Plan is easily the best one. It's certainly riffing on, some of the tones and aesthetics of something like a Fargo, for instance. It's kind of similar in that regard, but there are sequences that still carry some of Sam Raimi's trademarks that it takes inspiration from a movie like Fargo and just heightens the grotesqueness a little bit, that it kind of feels a little Sam Raimi at times. And I think what I love so much about the movie is how he's able to find that middle ground where it feels like a massive detour in his filmography, yet it also kind of makes sense. It kind of feels like those moments when a director tries to tap into something a little bit more mature while holding on to some of the things that made them so famous in the first place. And I think A Simple Plan arguably represents that the most in his filmography.
Yeah.
It's just interesting how, as Sam Raimi went on, he kind of I don't want to say regressed, but went back to some of those more immature instincts as he got older, which is what I love about him. I love that he kind of did that little teetery effect. But I think A Simple Plan is easily the most sophisticated of his detours, if you want to call it that. And I think it has some really, really powerful performances, especially from Billy Bob Thornton and Bill Paxton. I think they're terrific in that movie.
Yeah, I agree. It is really great. It is a bit of a detour, but it's one of those things where it's so good at what it wants to be that even though it's not what we've become accustomed to with Sam Raimi, it's still, it's something that registers. It does resonate.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why he decided to do for Love of the Game because that came out the next year. So this kind of detour-ish era that he found himself in, it comes off the heels of Army of Darkness, and I'm sure we'll talk about that here in a little bit. And I think he just wanted to veer into something else because at that point he was really known for his horror sensibilities. He is second unit on Hudsucker Proxy, which I don't love, but that experience with the Coens, I'm sure, reinvigorated this different creative side of him that then led to something like A Simple Plan a few years later in 1998. And I mean, it's really, really fantastic. And that could also be, again, why he did For Love of the Game, because of the success of A Simple Plan. I can do this. I don't have to do horror. I can do something else.
Yeah.
Let's
Sam
do baseball.
Raimi, Sam Raimi, who directed Evil Dead, can actually make movies that get nominated for Oscars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that did, kind of led to that mid to late 90s era that we got with A Simple Plan, For the Love of the Game, and then The Gift. So like, but it is really good. And I agree with you. The performances are incredible. The film got 2 Oscar nominations, I want to say.
I think it was for the screenplay and for Billy Bob Thornton's performance, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Bill Paxton is also really, really great here.
Yeah.
And I know that this has become highly regarded as one of Raimi's best films since then, especially from a critical lens, as you noted earlier.
There's a shotgun shootout in this movie that, at least at the end of it, where one character flies across the room, where it has so much Sam Raimi in it.
Yeah. I would agree with that for sure.
Yeah.
But I do like that film as a performative and emotional vehicle. It is quite great in that regard for sure.
Yep. It's great stuff.
And again, like that was one I was certainly thinking with my last pick. I don't know how, like, does that help the vote? Like, to me, it just felt like more people would cling on to the Drag Me to Hell thing because that's what we love from Sam Raimi, is that campy stuff. But there's
it's more
also
top of mind now.
But there's also the cinephiles out there that just want, like, no, that's just one of his best movies.
Well, I feel like what they'll vote for. I feel like if I had Evil Dead 2 and A Simple Plan on my list, I'm doing it right by having both sides of that represented. And same thing with
fair.
you. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Good stuff.
So it's still my turn to get to my number 4 pick right now.
Yes.
So sneaking around to me. I'll go ahead and go with Army of Darkness for my next pick.
Okay.
Yeah, rounding out. So now we have the entire Evil Dead trilogy represented on both of our lists in some way. I'm completing things here with Army of Darkness, which came out in 1992, which sees Ash transported back to England's Dark Ages, which is one of the wildest transitions for a trilogy like this. It not my favorite of the 3. I still think Evil Dead 2 is the best of the 3, but in some ways, I think Army of Darkness might be Raimi's most rewatchable film. It is just endlessly entertaining and endlessly inventive. Like if I'm going to put on a Sam Raimi film just to watch and enjoy, I might go with this one more often than not, just because it has such entertaining rewatch value. I love how committed Bruce Campbell is to this complete new bit that these movies are going for. And especially everyone that's in the movies surrounding him that has to play a part in this sort of fish out of water situation. Bringing this, as he calls it, a boomstick back to the Dark Ages. It really is incredible stuff, has incredible scenes. I love the sequence when Ash is attacked by his many mini clones. It's just so weird and wildly inventive. And I really appreciate that it took this massive swing.
Yeah, I think you have to appreciate that this film exists. That's why I think so many of us hold up the 90s and 2000s with such high regard. And I know nostalgia can be sometimes a tricky thing, but I don't know if this film gets made today.
It doesn't. Well, here's what else I will say about this movie. And this is maybe another thing that really helps give it this like cult following status. The movie poster, that image of Ash with the chainsaw on him, like that That might
It's
be in the
iconic,
running for
yeah.
one of the greatest movie posters of all time.
It's great. No, I mean, I love how weird and bold this is. I mean, you think about those first two Evil Dead movies, and they're really great. And obviously, there's a horror science fiction element to them. And I just love that this film it just starts off with we're going to the Middle Ages. Like that's where this begins.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, let's just roll with whatever Raimi has up his sleeve. Let's just go with it. It's just
absolutely amazing.
Just astounding.
Yep, good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Raimi can do something like this today, even within this franchise, if he wanted to, just because he's Sam Raimi. But given the context of the time and when this came out, no way that would be greenlit today.
I know.
Nope.
Yeah.
I don't think so. At least not as it is. Given the financial success of the first two, the studio would absolutely want a third one, but they wouldn't. They wouldn't
let this be the third one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it would probably get to a point where they butt heads and then Raimi would have to leave over quote unquote creative differences, as they say.
Yeah. And then some journeyman director comes back and just makes a standard horror movie that then gets tagged as Evil Dead 3.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how that plays out in 2026. 100%.
Yeah, but not 1992, thank goodness.
Not 19. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, really fun movie. Like that a lot. So that is your fourth pick. So we are to my final two here because again, we're only doing 5 rounds here.
Yep.
All right. Honestly, Brendan, I don't know how this is going to register with people. I'm going with Send Help here for my next pick.
I kind of expected you to do this.
I really love this film a lot. Spoiler alert, I guess, for our review. I think it's one of his best movies. Honestly, I really do.
Okay.
I don't know where it ranks for me necessarily. I don't know if it might not quite be top 5, but I think it's close. I think it's close to top 5.
I mentioned earlier that there are 10 Sam Raimi films that I feel like a lot of people would agree are his 10 best. This is still one of them, regardless of where you put it, I think.
Yeah. And I know it's new and it's fresh and that carries a bit of bias. I do understand that.
I almost went with it just because it is new.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think part of it is, and this is just subjective. This is all subjective, what I'm about to say here. Because I like the Evil Dead movies, but I'm not head over heels in love with them like a lot of other fans are. I really appreciate, again, the boldness of something like Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 2, clearly one of his very best movies for sure. Send Help, I would take over the first Evil Dead, for example.
Okay. I think it's fair.
A cleaner movie. It's different, obviously. They're hard to compare, but I think Send Help is a movie that very much knows what it is, leans into itself dramatically from a camp perspective. And Rachel McAdams, as we noted earlier, is just it's one of my favorite. Again, I'll stray away from best, but it's one of my favorite performances in a Raimi movie.
I'm trying not to say too much because we'll have a lot to talk about with our review. I'll just say this. I do really like the movie overall. I have some reservations about it. I'll just say that.
Okay. Yeah, that's totally fair. Yeah. But I think the other thing too about Send Help, and again, we'll talk about this when we get to the review. I think its messaging is quite poignant. And I mean that maybe less on an individual basis, although I think that's very much there, especially given the coda of that film and its wink to the audience, a literal wink to the audience.
Yeah.
It's very obvious what it's trying to say there, but I think it transcends beyond individuality. And this is where Raimi just gets to have his cake and eat it too. And it's the brilliance of what he's doing with that film. I think it very much taps into the current socio-political climate as well, that I could not separate as well.
Oh, I think the ending is wildly provocative. And I think there's a potential reading of the ending, if you want to read it this way, where if this movie came out like 8 or 9 years ago, a lot of people would say this movie's madly offensive. And I kind of love that it's willing to go there.
And depending on your worldview, you might find the film incredibly offensive. Yeah, that's totally understandable. I mean, if there's a world where you find the actions of Linda to be incredibly selfish, I mean, there are times you don't agree with what she does. And I love that it's provocative in that regard.
There are two complex characters front and center in this movie, which I appreciated.
Yes. Yeah, I very much do as well. So yeah, I do love it. Again, I don't know if it's top 5 Raimi for me, but it's closer to that than being in the back half of my 10 or outside of that top 10. I really love it. Again, from what I've seen on social media, I think a lot of people tend to agree or at least love. I mean, at least with my thoughts on Rachel McAdams.
I think that's pretty universally loved at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've seen a lot of love for the film overall. So I'm taking a bit of a swing here because I know it's a new film, and to be perfectly transparent, I don't know how everyone feels. Maybe this will hurt me in the vote. I don't know. But I'm also stepping 30,000 feet above this, looking 10, 15, 20 years down the road. Do I think Send Help will be looked upon the way we do Evil Dead now? My answer to that is yes, which is why it's my pick here.
I mean, critically speaking right now, I mean, this is rocking a solid 76 on Metacritic. Like critics are at least going for it.
Yeah.
And I
absolutely.
I mean, even a movie like Drag Me to Hell, I think got like in the mid 80s on Metacritic when that came out. Like that's wild. That's wild. It's just like
people love themselves some Sam Raimi, man.
It's just proof that not everything has to be the same as far as what critics go for.
Yeah, 93% on Rotten Tomatoes as well. Yeah, people are really liking this film a lot. And yeah, I looked it up here again for Rotten Tomatoes anyway. Drag Me to Hell has a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes with critics, 62 with audiences, for whatever that's worth. This has an 88 with audiences.
I think this is like if I mentioned earlier that I feel like Send Help and Drag Me to Hell are probably the two that are most comparable in Sam Raimi's filmography, at least as of late. But I can understand why Drag Me to Hell maybe wasn't as much a hit with audiences, especially at the time, because it was sort of an outlier in the horror movie sphere then, right? But Send Help, I think, is a more attainable film for general audiences, especially nowadays. I feel like it's something that general audiences would go for.
And its ending, as we noted, it's provocative, but in a very different way than something like Drag Me to Hell.
Oh yeah, It doesn't leave you with that like ugly sting. I mean, it can, depending on your reading of the movie. Send Help could, but it's more ambiguous.
For sure. And I think I was somewhat expecting it to go to the Drag Me to Hell territory. I think maybe that's what I loved about the ending, is that it was provocative, but also different than what I thought it was going to do. But yeah, I really loved it. We'll talk about it in the review later this week, but I do think 10, 15 years from now, I think people will look back at this and go, oh yeah, that Send Help, that came out 10 years ago? That was awesome. That's one of Raimi's best films. I think that's going to be the legacy.
If Rachel McAdams gets an Oscar nomination for it, that'll be...
that's the other thing too. We don't know what the year end is going to look like. I really don't think that's going to pay out at all. But I don't think for this conversation, I don't think, like, I'm not really putting a lot of stock into that, but it wouldn't be incredible. That would certainly add to what I'm saying here. But I think people will look back at this as one of his best movies. I certainly will, for sure.
All right, so you have one. Yeah, Send Help is your number 4. You have one pick left, and then I have one pick left. And I'll just say this: I'm really interested to see where you go here, because I think there are 2 films left that we should be fighting over, but there are 2 other films that you could surprise me with picking as well. So I'm really curious to see where you go with this.
Yeah, is this where I go with Oz?
I know you're not going with Oz because I know you want to keep your list as credible as possible.
No. I'm going to go with Darkman here for my last pick.
That was one of the ones I thought you should go with. So good job.
Yeah. And I really like this film a lot in the sense that it's very Sam Raimi as an action movie. the composition and framing, the horror-esque elements, the makeup work here is just absurd. It's really, really great. And I love that it's pseudo this original superhero movie in a way, but it's also very much inspired by the classic Universal monsters. That comes across very well. You don't even have to know that as a factoid to just see that on the screen.
Oh, it's got the Invisible Man all over it.
Very much so. And so I love how he threads that needle of paying homage, but doing something new and interesting, creating this character on his own terms. And then again, through his filmmaking and the composition and framing and the action, it's all done through that Raimi lens, that, 80s, 90s Raimi lens that gives credence to not just why it's great on its own terms, but boy, on a rewatch especially, do you see the seeds of Spider-Man in this film?
That's why I love it so much. It just further proves that directors back in the day can get tasked with doing IP, and they were still allowed to make it their own movie. You watch Darkman, then you watch Spider-Man. It's like, man, Sam Raimi was given the licenses to Spider-Man, and he made Sam Raimi movies out of them.
He did, yeah, 100%. I think, I don't know if this is true. I imagine this is true. Maybe most people know this already, and I just don't, because I don't look at the IMDb trivia all the time. But I mean, clearly, he was tapped to direct Spider-Man because of this film, right?
I think that was
has to
certainly
be
part
obvious,
of it.
right?
Yeah.
I would imagine so. I would imagine that's obvious. I don't know if that's true, but either way, I mean, you really do see the seeds of Spider-Man here. And again, I say that very complimentary. I love kind of those dark shadow compositions. The cinematography is real great. Liam Neeson and Frances McDormand are incredible here. And again,
it's just so comic booky. It's so comic booky. It's
very comic booky. And again, I love how this ends in a way that is a bit anticlimactic.
Yeah.
It's not happy they don't end up together, forever. And it's not this Disney fairy tale ending. I love that he's willing to tap into those kind of darker sensibilities. And it's very comic booky. That might be the best way to articulate it.
It is one of my favorite films of his. I didn't pick it earlier only because I felt like others would be a bit more attractive for voting purposes. But I'm glad someone at least got a chance to pick it here. That scene when he and Frances McDormand, he being Liam Neeson, are at the carnival and he's trying to win her a pink elephant. Yeah. One of the best scenes in any Raimi film, if you ask me.
Yeah. No, it's great. I love how all of that crystallizes. I mean, and that the sequence is kind of following that as well, when she follows him there and they have that small interaction. It's poignant. And again, I love the framing there, because we get the POV of Peyton, and is that the first time we see him fully in the makeup without the bandages?
I think so.
It's
I think it's kind of building to that moment.
There. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah, Darkman rules. Really like it a lot.
Kind of an underrated superhero movie, I think.
I think so as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, movie that probably doesn't get greenlit today, but thank God for the 90s. Yeah. All right. So that's my 5. So you have one more pick here, and then we'll be done.
Yeah. And for my last pick, I'm going to go with The Quick and the Dead from 1995.
Okay.
His Western sports movie, his gunslinging sports movie, which I think is the best way to describe it. I feel like a lot of people see this as maybe his first real detour away from his typical tropes. But you watch this movie nowadays, especially through the lens of what Sam Raimi usually does, the way the camera moves, the way he films certain gunshots and just gun barrel rolls and things like that. This kind of feels like a comic book Western movie in some ways. And I think it's way more Raimi-like than it perhaps got credit for at the time. And I feel like the film has garnered a bit of a cult following as well. So I hope by picking it here, it does attract some attention in that regard. And it's a film I really do enjoy. It is one I need to revisit, because I think the last time I saw it was maybe probably like almost 10 years ago at this point. And I think at the time when I gave it a revisit, I remember really liking it, but I remember not really loving Sharon Stone in it. I always felt like she was kind of miscast, but I love everyone else in it. And maybe that'll change because, like I said, I know this movie does have quite the cult following as a great sports Western. And the way the camera moves, you can feel a lot of Raimi in it, which I really do appreciate. So I that's going to be my last pick here, and I hope I get some votes out of it because I know it has a bit of a following.
All righty. So The Quick and the Dead, I can't really speak to this. This is the only Raimi film I haven't seen.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
This is a blind spot for me.
You've seen Crime Wave?
Well,
from the 80s?
Okay. I should say, no, I haven't seen Crime Wave and I haven't seen It's Murder.
Okay.
But that's his like
It's Murder
amateur, like student film, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of like his short film, I guess.
Yeah. I of his notable films, I should say.
Okay.
Like the ones that people know about. That's really it. That's the only one I haven't really seen. So
well, I know it has a bit of a following. The Quick and the Dead has kind of been reevaluated as of late, I feel like.
Well, worst case, we'll get to it in a few years when we get to the 95 retro.
Oh gosh.
That'll be a good time to catch up with that.
Speaking of Raimi, we just finished our 1999 retrospective. We're gonna do 1998 this year. That's the year of A Simple Plan.
Yep. I was thinking about that earlier. That'll be a nice little excuse to give that one another spin. Look forward to it. All right. So that is our Sam Raimi draft. Let's go through them once again. Give me your 5.
All right. My 5 include Evil Dead 2, The First Spider-Man, A Simple Plan, Army of Darkness, and The Quick and the Dead.
Okay. And I have Spider-Man 2, The Evil Dead, numero uno, Drag Me to Hell, Send Help, and Darkman.
Your list very much reflects the typical Sam Raimi that we know of, that we associate him with. I have a few of his detours on my list.
You do. Yeah. Yours is certainly more eclectic for sure, which is why I'm curious how this is going to go.
Yeah, you might get more of the edge from the diehard Raimi fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, and that's what I was going for. That's why I went with Drag Me to Hell there. Like people are loving Send Help, and I don't know if it's a Simple Plan Raimi heads that are loving that film as much, but
it might not be. But like I had nothing else to go with because I'm not going to pick Spider-Man 3, I don't love Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. I know you like it a little bit more than I do.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen Crime Wave. That is my one blind spot here, but I know it's not highly regarded, even though it was co-written by the Coen brothers, of all people.
Wild. And like that partnership early on in their careers is pretty fascinating.
Yeah, for sure.
I wouldn't mind to see them get back together. That would be fun.
That'd be weird. Yeah. Maybe that'll be their reunion. They don't direct a movie together for a while, but they at least write one together that Sam Raimi directs.
Yeah. Good. Like the Coens, I believe they cameo in Darkman, if I'm not mistaken. I believe
they do. I forget where they are, but I remember hearing that tidbit.
Yeah. Yeah. Either way, I haven't seen Crime Wave. Might not catch up with that one.
Nah, I think I'm okay. Maybe just
Dead,
to be
I will catch up with.
Maybe just to be a completionist, just so I can actually post a Sam Raimi ranking on my Letterboxd.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's totally fair. Yeah. And again, I'm going to be curious where Send Help, where that lands with people, and maybe also with his legacy. Right. I think part of the allure right now is that we're coming off the heels of Doctor Strange, which again, I did like it overall. But we're coming off the heels of that and Oz the Great and Powerful. This is only his third film since 2009.
Yeah.
And Drag Me to Hell, that was his first film post Spider-Man, right? So it's his return to the horror franchise in this unique, interesting way.
Yeah.
And really that was his first time doing horror since Army of Darkness. Was I missing one here?
I mean, I think so, but I mean, is Army of Darkness really horror?
Well,
I mean, it is just because of the universe that it's playing within.
Yeah.
But I'd say Drag Me to Hell is perhaps more Evil Dead 2 than anything else.
And that's fair, because you could say the same thing about Darkman. Like
Sure.
It's a horror film, but it's a superhero action film. It's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Either way, you could say, it's been 15 years in between there. So like all of that to say, send help. It's a reminder of what we love about Sam Raimi, and we just don't get these films all that often from him anymore. Maybe we will going forward if Send Help is a financial success, which we hope that it is. As we talked about
I hope it
earlier,
is too. Just because I want to see movies like this get made more often that are modestly budgeted that people are interested in. Now here's a question, then we can wrap this up. And I don't want your wishful thinking to cloud your answer, but do you think we are going to get to a point where Sam Raimi is given the free reins to make Spider-Man 4?
Well, I mean, some of this might depend on the success of this next phase for Marvel.
Yeah.
If the Spider-Man, was it called Brand New Day that comes out later this summer? If that's a huge hit and reinvigorates that particular series of films, the Tom Holland Spider-Man, I say invigorate, like No Way Home wasn't this huge billion-dollar movie.
I know, right?
It was. But creatively, if Brand New Day does very well, and then Doomsday comes out, and that's well received, and that makes $1 billion, and they kind of right the ship, then I could see Marvel going, all right, let's put that on pause. We've righted the ship. We're doing well. We don't really need to venture out again.
Yeah.
Especially because the multiverse stuff seems to be like they're trying to figure out a way out of this, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they're going to do Doomsday, they're going to do Secret Wars, and I think they're itching to, turn the page, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that could put a damper on that. But what if Doomsday comes out and no one cares, and it's terribly reviewed and it bombs respectively? Because people are going to go see that movie. It might even make $1 billion, but I don't know if Marvel will be happy if it's, and then what if Secret Wars comes out and it doesn't do well? It's not as if Fantastic Four, I thought Fantastic Four was pretty good, and I think it sparked Marvel in the right direction, but it's not as if that film was, it didn't change the game for them. It didn't
like it should
really
have
move the needle as much as they hoped that it would.
Yeah.
So they're still kind of wavering here. So if Doomsday is a failure, if Secret Wars is a failure, they're going to be desperate. And at that point, then maybe you pull the trigger on Spider-Man 4. That's where that becomes a realistic opportunity.
I think there's still an opportunity for it, even if movies like Spider-Man Brand New Day and Doomsday and Secret Wars are very successful. At least if they do enough to maintain the knowledge that people understand that Spider-Man is its own thing and it's in its own universe, and Spider-Man 4 ends up being something that has no relatability to those other movies,
like the Reeves Batman movie.
Exactly. Yeah, I think there's room to still do it that way. So maybe even the success of those movies might actually be a benefit to Spider-Man 4 getting made. Yeah. I think the real thing is it's dependent on how the character of Spider-Man is treated in these movies, because there is speculation that Tobey Maguire is probably going to show up in one of them.
I mean, for Secret Wars, and because we're still in the multiverse part of this, obviously. Right. So I think it's very possible he comes back. Yeah. And if people respond to that well, then I could see them maybe pulling the trigger.
If they respond to it well, but also depending on what they do to the character.
That's true. So, that could be part of it. Yeah. I guess we'll see. I do think though, if Doomsday is successful, if Secret Wars is successful, I think they'll feel as if they righted the ship and they want to keep focus on the main thing, which is the mainline MCU timeline. Yeah. I don't think they're going to want to venture out much, but if it gets middling results, then I think everything's kind of up in the air.
Yeah, we'll see.
But we'll see.
And we'll see.
We shall see. Because what you're saying makes sense. I just don't know if I see Kevin Feige, assuming that he's still the GM of all of this. If things are going well, then we're gonna have this random Spider-Man 4 that doesn't really fit the main timeline of the MCU. I just don't like the way he's treated this. That just doesn't feel like something Kevin Feige would do.
Yeah, if they are going to make it, regardless of whether Doomsday and Secret Wars are successful and Tobey Maguire is somehow involved in those movies, I hope that Spider-Man 4 is not some type of continuation of that. It can acknowledge the events of No Way Home. That's fine, because that's already happened. That's been there and done that.
But I hope more of a sequel to that initial trilogy.
That's what I'm hoping it were to do if it were to come to fruition.
Yeah. Well, and again, because that would be a one-off, I don't know. I just don't see Kevin Feige pulling the trigger on that, even if it would be compelling for us to see, and maybe even fans would want to see it. But they've invested so much in the larger MCU that a random Spider-Man 4 doesn't really fit that trajectory. But I will say this: Marvel is a Disney property, and the one thing that we know about Disney is the only thing they care about is money. That's the only thing they care about. So Bob Iger could pull Kevin Feige into his office and tell him, I don't give a shit what your plan is. That film is projected to make $1 billion. We're making Spider-Man 4 with Sam Raimi. I don't care. That is also a realistic choice here. If they feel like that film will make money, they will do it, regardless of what Feige thinks.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
We shall see. All right. Anyway, vote on our Sam Raimi draft. If you like my board more or Brendan's, you can leave a comment below. You can also reach out on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky. And we will put out a poll later on in the week where you can vote. We'll do that on Twitter, and we will do that on our Facebook group page, InSession Film. Just find our group page there, and you can request to join. I will get you into the group, and we'll have fun.
Absolutely.
And then, as we noted, stay tuned. We will have a review for Send Help coming later this week. I guess you won't never guess how I feel about the movie, but we'll talk about it.
I think we've been pretty clear. We're both positive on it.
Yeah. So we'll get to that later on in the week. New Chasing the Goal later this week as well. New Women in Session. You can be on the lookout for all of that. It's a busy season. Lots of stuff happening on the website, InSessionFilm.com. So make sure you go and check out all the great stuff there that the writers are doing. I have established my next written piece.
Okay.
That I'm very excited about. So over the last couple of years, I've written about Star Wars, The Force Awakens. I've written about Inside Out. It is 2026. Brendan, do you know what celebrates its 10th anniversary this year?
Oh, a lot of movies do.
I know. But if you could think back to my favorite film of 2016, we've talked about it incessantly.
Oh yeah, Midnight Special, right?
Midnight Special. We have a whole T-shirt.
I was about to say La La Land.
Yeah, it could be La La Land. La La Land, it does celebrate its 10th anniversary this year.
Yeah, so does Moonlight.
I hope we sell a lot of those T-shirts later on in the year.
We better. It makes sense.
God. Yes, Midnight Special come April celebrates its 10th anniversary. So that is going to be my next piece. I'm going to write that very, very soon. Look forward to that. Right.
Good stuff.
All right. Anyway, with all that said, thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time on the InSession Film Podcast. Go listen to At World's End Storm. It was real good.
On Zimmer, baby.